All right, welcome to the Sharp Mind Show, episode 100. I'm Nate, the Fifth Future MD, your life coach. Be sure to check out InserCell.com and pick you up a cool, inspirational t shirt today. All right, so if we didn't have Canada's weather already beaten down on us, we're taking home the Olympic gold from them too. Because the United States beats Canada in hockey for the first time since 1980, which, I didn't know this. I thought we were winning gold, you know, despite Canada. But um, crazy overtime victory. Um, Basically, you get a great forecheck from Werenski, right? Down um, the ice, and that allowed um, them to pass it to Hughes for the goal. And goal, Hughes gets that 2-1 victory there in overtime. But let me know what you guys think about the United States hockey team beating Canada for the first time. Of course, I had to hit up my Canadian brothers for the first time, because every year they get the victory. Every 4 years they get the victory, and finally the gold is back where it belongs in the United States. All right, so let me know what you guys thought about the game, if you watched it, or if you didn't watch it. Um, and Pretty cool, Hughes getting that goal there. Um, this episode is brought to you by Dylan and Davina. The Adventure Begins, which is my wife's children's book. If you got nieces, nephews, or children of your own, be sure to check out Dylan and Davina. The Adventure Begins. All right, so more sports today. Tyler Reddick and Michael Jordan's team win back to back with the Daytona 500 and now with a win in Atlanta. This time, Reddick led 53 laps and didn't come from the middle of the field. Once again, Bubba Wallace makes a mistake at the end in overtime here, so they had to do an overtime restart twice in this race, which the first one took out Logano, which is my driver. But basically, Bubba Wallace makes a move up the racetrack, and everybody else goes like this, right? And everybody else goes under him, and he just falls back. They just kind of leave him out to dry, but that leaves Tyler Reddick out front, and he basically pulls away from number 19 car. Now, see, I know it's early, but is this Tyler Reddick's year, right? Tyler Reddick's been driving unbelievably here the past 2 weeks, 2 wins in a row in Daytona, Atlanta. So does this make him the front runner for this year with Michael Jordan as his owning his team, right? So let me know what you guys think, or is it still anybody's game or anybody's race? Like I say, I know it's early, but is it Tyler Reddick's year, right? That's the question. All right, and so moving on. So El Mencho was killed in a military operation in Mexico over the weekend. And this left many of the people from the United States that were in Mexico vacationing to shelter in place in hotel resorts in Jalisco. But El Mencho was the leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. In response to the security forces by Mexico, New Generation Cartel unleashed a wave of violence, right, following the death of El Mencho. And so they've been burning buses, they've been burning businesses, basically in clashing with the Mexican military. I even saw them burning down a Costco, which is nuts, right? Just burn down all your supplies. But What do you think about Mexico getting El Mencho here? He's responsible for many, many drug deaths in the United States. I don't know exactly how many, um, but Mexico finally went after this guy, and now there is violence in the streets, basically. And so you think about stuff like this, like your area is making money in a sleazy way, but it's how you feed your family, right? And so you know you end up loving this guy, even though um, he's actually killing people in other places, right? So you kind of see that here uh, with the new Generation Cartel unleashing this wave of violence, right? So let me know what you think about the death of El Mencho, and will this reshape uh, the drug cartels in general, or even help any kind of drug trafficking at all, really, in this fight on drugs, actually fighting the drugs, which is a lot better than what's been going on in previous administrations, in my opinion. All right. And so, speaking of the administration here, the Supreme Court shuts down emergency tariffs for Trump. Right. So Trump was using emergency powers to be able to control tariffs around the world. So SCOTUS has basically shut that down. Right. So Trump then gets on there and says basically he vows to issue 15% tariffs on the entire world instead. And basically, we as investors or smart people, sharp minds, want to know how this affects our money, how it affects the country long term, right? And so basically, this defines a clear way for Trump to actually impose tariffs rather than actually, just wildly moving them up and down, right? Hopefully this will make them remain steady, right? And so to me, the market is going to like this because then you can actually gauge the future, what the future is going to look like, instead of this up and down roller coaster where he's going, oh, I'm going 20% today, I'm going 50%, I'm going 150%. Like, you can't do business, when your costs are going to double overnight, right? Like, so hopefully this will bring some stability to the market here. And, um, but if they made it where Trump couldn't do any kind of tariff, then it would be very bad for the country, right? So, he's basically saying that he can do, 15% tariffs on the entire world instead of negotiating with each individual country. Definitely going to hurt negotiations in the future, but better for it to be stable if you're an investor trying to invest in the United States, right? Long term. All right. So let me know what you think of the Supreme Court shutting down Trump's tariffs, and basically what you think will happen with the market in return, right? All right. So here's a hard truth. Most people don't want freedom. They want comfort. Why do people say they want more but never change, right? So freedom actually requires responsibility. Where comfort is, you easily have excuses with comfort, right? And most people will choose a familiar plan, right? So why are you never going to change, right? Because you're comfortable, right? You say, okay, well, I'm not taking up 2 seats in the plane, so I'm still going to be 300 pounds. It's fine, no problem, right? The pain in my knees is easily taken over by opiates. So let me just go ahead and pop some pills, and we won't have any pain anymore. So we're comfortable again, right? But as you can continue to step down this ladder, right, uh, eventually, you're all the way at the bottom. There's eventually going to be a bottom where you're not comfortable anymore. And then that's when change happens, right? That's when people decide to change. But by then it's too late, right? By then, the damage to your body, the damage to your soul, the damage to your reputation, is already done. It's complete, right? So, you got to keep that in mind. Most people don't want freedom, they want comfort, right? And so once they get comfortable, they stop pushing, they stop caring, they're just living through the moment. Um, and so we want to change that for you. That's what I'm a life coach, right? So I help people change, right, and get back to what they were supposed to be, right, and get back to thinking about financial freedom, thinking about um, not worrying about food, shelter, clothing, that kind of stuff, but worried about how can I help other people get food, shelter, clothing, right? And so that's what I do as a life coach. So if you're interested in changing your life, be sure to hit me up in the DMs on Instagram, um, or click the link below and just sign up. My number's up there somewhere. You can find my number and just text me too, but if you're interested in that, be sure to hit me up and let's get you straight. All right. And so the last topic of the day, it says single moms working for $18 an hour part time and not making ends meet. Does she continue to go to school or does she move and try to find a full time job? Right. So basically, if you're not making ends meet on part time jobs, you have to find full time employment. Right. And so, um, basically, the choice is, do I keep going to school working part time, but I'm not making my ends meet? My debt is going up, right? And so it really depends on what you're going to school for, right? So, if you're going to school for something stupid, then maybe not. But even then, like if you're having to take out large sums of debt to go to school, you should not go to school, right? And so, um, basically, you're going to try to find a full time job here, right? And so I had to make this decision, not as a single mom, but I had to make this decision working for the city because I basically had been accepted to nursing school, which I had already been to med school for 2 years and basically ran out of money. But I was accepted to nursing school while I was, basically at the same time being promoted within the city, and you know, I had to decide, am I going to take this promotion or I'm going to go to school? Right. And so it ended up working out, that both me and my wife, due to Hurricane Florence, would have had no income, right, if I had decided to go to school. Right. And so it ended up working out there very, very good. But, um, and I also ended up making the same as I would as a nurse, um, with the promotion, right? So I had to think about stuff like this and definitely I decided to go with the job, and I think that this single mom should go with the job too. And then once you get on your feet, you can think about, okay, I can go to school and find a better career if your career that you're into is not what you want, right? Um, the first thing you got to think about is putting food on the table, a roof over your head, clothes on for your children, yourself, you know, so you have to make those ends meet first. And if you're not making those ends meet, you can't think about school and shouldn't be trying to go into debt to get a degree that may or may not be what the company's looking for. Companies are looking for years of experience now because they're just selective. They don't want to train people, they don't want to do anything. They want you to just be, you know, so basically already have proven that you're amazing by the time they give you a job. And so that's what I had to do with the town of Morehead City, right? Where I work. I basically, with multiple degrees, had to start by cutting grass, right? And then I went and worked in the water department. And then I got a better job within the water department. And then I got moved to, the lab finally, which is what my degree is in. Um, but I had to go in there and show them that I'm a good worker, right? I would have never gotten that job from the outside, right? With just my degree. So keep that in mind. Work experience is much more valued than a degree. So in today's society, right? So keep that in mind. That's what I would do if I was a single mom and not making ends meet. I have to go make the ends meet, right? So I'm Nate, and I'm a life coach, and I help people like this. This is what I do, right? So if you need help, hit me up in the DM, and let's get you back on track. Shop at InstaSale.com, pick you up a cool inspirational t-shirt. Check out my wife's book, Dylan and Davina, The Adventure Begins, and London and the Goo Goo, the first best-selling book, because my wife is an Amazon best-selling author, Meredith Dillon Johnson. And so very proud of her and hope you enjoy her books. If you have nieces, nephews, or children of your own, be sure to check those out. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, share the video with somebody that needs it, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.